My name is the Peach Cobbler, also known as Peach. I am a content creator and partnered streamer on a platform called Twitch. This is where I live stream daily for hundreds of people just like you. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term streamer, it's somebody who creates content in real time for their audience to react with in the moment. Content creation can be based around anything and everything. For me, it's based around video games. My earliest memory of playing video games started when I was about 4 years old, back in Maryland on a farm with my 11 brothers and 3 sisters. That's right, 11 brothers and 3 sisters. As you can imagine, when you come from a family that large, everything you have, you share. So my brothers shared the games that they played with me. I remember my brother handing me a controller one evening and being like, just jump and follow me. So I just tried to do what he was doing, and I would hit the buttons, and he would praise me and tell me I was doing a great job, and it was really exciting. It wasn't until a few years later that I found out that that controller was broken. We had this special rule in our household. It was losers had to give up their controllers, and winners got to keep it. Now, we only had 4 controllers, and that's if you're counting the broken one. So you really didn't want to have to give up your controller. This is where I learned to get really competitive with playing. I wanted to be the best I could be. I didn't want to give up my controller. I wanted to keep it as long as I could. And this is how I got good. For me, video games were joy. They brought joy. They brought my family closer together. It was something that we bonded over. It was, in a sense, a glue to our friendship. Even now when we meet up, we're always finding ways to play video games. Fast forward a few years, I'm in New York City. And then I remembered that I still had a lot of younger brothers at home. And I was like, yeah, I would love to connect with them over this again. So I decided to start streaming. I was so excited. Unfortunately, this is where everything kind of went downhill. Video games that I had grew up playing no longer brought joy the way that they did to me. In fact, video games now incited rage or hateful comments. There was so much racism, sexism involved in it. I was not prepared for this. I remember the first time that I loaded into a game. So video games now, instead of playing with my brothers in my living room, you can play with people on the internet. You don't choose who your partner is, they choose for you. But you go into like a fill game is what they call them, random fills. Remember the first time I loaded into a game, the guy's voice came over the thing and he said, hello? I said, hi. Are you a girl? Yes. I was like, in my head, I was like, is that an issue? Like, what the heck? And he was like, oh my God, we're gonna lose. And I was like, well, that's rude. I was like, no, we're not. I was like, what do you mean we're gonna lose? I was like, what a terrible mentality or mindset to have. And he was like, well, girls are just really bad at video games, you'll see. It was so tough because, unfortunately, I was bad at the game. I had just started playing. But I was so frustrated because I wanted to be better. I wanted to beat what he had just said about girls and me being bad at this new video game that I picked up. It continued. It was like every random game that I got into, somebody had something negative to say about me. Whether I wasn't playing the game the way that they wanted me to play it. Sometimes they were purposely griefing my game. They would do things to make us lose because I was a girl. They just wanted a new partner. It was terrible. I remember I got into a game with a girl, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, another gamer girl. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to connect. It was quite the opposite. In fact, in the first 5 minutes of playing with her, she hurled probably every single insult that she had ever heard on the internet at her to me. It was bad. I ended up leaving the game. I couldn't even play with her. Some of the stuff coming out of her mouth, I couldn't even stomach. It was really disappointing. So these are some of the comments that I was seeing like daily in my live stream. I have the power to delete them and put them to the side, but when you see this constantly, or you're getting into games and people are constantly saying negative things to you, it wears on you. As much as you don't want it to, it gets to your mental health. I was laying in bed one evening and I was like, am I really doing the right thing? Like, this was supposed to bring me joy, and now this is giving me anxiety. And every time I get on, I'm like, oh, please get someone who's nice. While I was laying in bed that evening, I had this huge thought. It was from my grandmother. And she used to say, when somebody would throw negative thoughts at you or things that you can't control, let it roll off of your back like water rolls off of a duck. Ducks are really fascinating creatures. When it's in water, it's wet, but as soon as it comes out and it shakes, the droplets just roll off of its back as if it was never there, leaving no residue of water. So that mental image of don't let people's comments stick to me was so powerful for me.
Then I started to realize that those droplets weren't even meant for me. They were coming from the person, and the person was hurting. So then I started to section it out in my head, and it was so much easier to take. Their nasty comments were no longer powerful. They were pitiful. And with that in mind, I started having more empathy for the people that were saying it. I just moved on, or I was kinder to them, and it changed the way that they were interacting with me. Some of the ways that I started to combat the toxicity that was in the gaming world was, one, allowing it to just roll off of me. Someone said something real, I'd be like, okay, thank you, bye, like, it's not for me. I also started to not let them have the platform or the time that they wanted to insult me. It's doing an injustice to myself and to the person who's trying to be the insulting person. Like, they want this platform to be rude to you. They want to feel powerful. The internet is a scary place. People can hide behind usernames. They don't have to have their real face up. They don't have to have their real name up. All of these comments would probably never be said to me in person. But because I'm on the internet and I have myself at a forefront for people to come and interact with me, it makes it easier for people to hide and just get that negativeness, whatever they're carrying from their day-to-day life, out on me. After I started doing this, cutting the time that I spent with the toxic people, I started finding the more positive people in gaming, the people who thought the same way I did and enjoyed the same way I did. This is what it looks like when I'm live streaming. I have a chat to my side, so I see what people are saying while I'm playing the game. And then this is where I can see negative comments that come through every now and then. Okay, so here's some of the positive comments that people have sent me via after playing games. I had a message sent from a mother who she felt like the game that I played with her kid had changed his life. And she was just like, he gets bullied and he just feels so depressed all the time. But like after he got off the game with you, he felt so empowered. And because of my quote unquote status or my following, because of what I have built, it gave even more power to have this kid feel like he was something or someone. Which leads to like my last point. Kindness is so powerful. We all crave kindness. And kindness from a stranger is more potent and powerful than kindness from your parents or a friend that you know. Because kindness from a stranger isn't coming from out of a spot of wanting something. It's just there, and it's just gone. They're there and they're gone, but they leave you with a lasting feeling. I love video games, and I love being able to bring joy to them, to bring how I grew up and allow that to be in someone else's day-to-day life. Gandhi has a great saying, and it's, be the change you want to see. So after I started playing video games and realized how toxic it was, I decided that I was even more determined to create a healthy, safe environment for people to game and play. And that brought me even more joy than I originally ever found in gaming. Thank you guys so much for having me.